In August 2016 I went to Myanmar and I travelled by the Yangon Airways aeroplane. It was extremely comfortable and a surprise, a very modern plane and very clean, and they were very helpful, above and beyond I would say. I travelled initially from Yangon to Bagan and then to Mandalay, and I stayed at the Hotel 82 in Mandalay City, and I walked in to the reception and found my name at the top of the welcome list with a whole heap of other people's names. And again, very surprising. First world hotel, if you would call it anything. Mandalay is a former capital of Myanmar, or Burma as it was named before. It's on the Irrawaddy River, and the main attraction is the Mandalay Palace. The Mandalay Palace is the last palace of the Burmese monarchy, constructed in 1857 to 1859, and it's part of the Kingdom of Mindon. I took a motorcycle taxi to the Mandalay Palace. It wasn't that far away, but I wasn't sure where it is, so I went on the motorcycle taxi. And this is a video of the street entrance of the palace. The palace is surrounded by a moat, and the military have a guard on the front gate. So you cross over the moat and then through the gate, and then you begin your walking tour of the palace. There's a shot of one of the military with a gun, and the entrance to the Mandalay Palace. During World War II, the Japanese occupied Mandalay, or Burma, and most of the palace was destroyed. So in 1990 they rebuilt replicas of most of the buildings. As you can see here, they're fairly modern looking, and they were quite interesting to walk through and see some of the exhibits of the royal family, etc. There were 3 wars over Burma, and the final war was between the Burmese and the British Empire, and the British Empire won and turned the palace grounds into a fort, and they ruled there until the Japanese took over in World War II. One of the very interesting exhibits in the palace grounds was a number of bronze figurines, one of an elephant statue, another one of a lion statue, bronze statues of man figures. The figurines were taken by one of the kings of Burma, and they were spoils of war with a clash with Thailand, and it's believed they were taken from Angkor Wat. Burmese believe that if you touch these bronze statues you can get cured from disease and improve your health, etc. So I wandered around and had a look at some of the other buildings and exhibits, and there was this statue of a number of kings standing around in north, south, east and west directions, and also there was a field of old cannons and other military equipment in a dilapidated state, and I had a bit of a look at that. You'll see the barbed wire fence, you couldn't cross into it, and I wasn't going to cross into it with the military ruling the area. There was also a number of cannons distributed around the palace area as well, and one of them was a really big one, and here is a photograph of it. There were 2 buildings that contained things that looked like gravestones, but they were actually scripture carved into rock or marble, and obviously they They're part of the history, so they were locked away, and didn't get to have a real good look at them. When I left the Mandalay Palace, the motorcycle taxi was still there, so he took me to a number of tourist attractions, including Margon Monastery, which is a blackwood and teak building for monastery monks. So it was built in the 1880s by one of the kings, and he also built the royal palace about the same time and transferred the capital to Mandalay in 1861. And if you watch, you'll see a lot of teak wall carvings and some statues, and a very few pieces of furniture that had carved fascias, and that was quite beautiful, and you could smell the teak right through the whole building, and outside you could smell some wood stain as well as the smell of teak. And I thoroughly enjoyed, I spent a lot of time in this building, and before I got back on the motorcycle taxi. And here's an image of the outside, and you can see the balustrades and the fences and that surrounded the building, and it was extremely beautiful and very ornate and just lovely. And here's a Google image of the front of the building, just to give you an idea of. Mandalay has a history, a small thriving business district of bronze statues and marble statues, carved statues of Buddhas, and obviously they are sold to all over Asia. And it's a really, really busy area. This is called the Unknown Street, and it was also weaving cloth for the Burmese clothing, traditional clothing. And here's the woman weaving some cloth. There was also shops all over the place with these little bronze statues of Buddha. I didn't obviously buy anything, and these women were worried that I hit my head on the low-lying roof of the area, and there was a whole heap of these old belt-driven grinding machines that they were making little bronze plaques and things. And there was also this King Gallon building, and they were pressing gold leaf and using these big hammers to make this gold leaf really thin, or at least that's what I think they were up to. The motorcycle taxi took me to the Margon Monastery, where there's over 2,000 monks in residence. It's sort of like a university, and it's been around for more than 100 years. And the senior monks start parading at 10 a.m. to go for lunch, and the progression continues on, and the younger ones are always the last. And these monks wander into the area inside the fence area, and they wash their hands, or at least that's what I think they were up to. Here is some of the younger ones heading in, and they have their meals. The motorcycle taxi then took me to the Mandalay Hill, and he tried in his best broken English to explain the Mandalay Hill. So he drove me up this long and windy road to the car park, and then I went for a walk with him in and around the temple on top of the hill. And there was a number of shrines and exhibits, and lots of gold and there was this outer building that jutted out into the forest and overlooking the hill, but I didn't go in there. There was just too many people. Here's a lot of people, and when they wandered off, I was able to get a photograph of the whatever this thing is, an idol statue that people sprinkled water over and obviously prayed. And there was this large golden Buddha pointing his finger, and we stood outside, and I took a video of overlooking the city of Mandalay and north, south, east and west. And this again was a struggle to understand the guide as he tried to explain in his broken English all about the different areas out in Mandalay. So the next day I flew back to Bangkok and then down to Ko Chang and used my yacht for a week, and then I flew back to Australia.
5-star hotel. This one.
Yep.
The Mandalay Hill Resort Hotel. One-day charge, and the room is...
The video was produced by myself, and it's the end of another exciting video of my time in Mandalay in Myanmar in August 2016.